engage in self-examination, root out your flaws. I wish you a God-victorious year of working on that habit and all of the ones I'm bringing to your attention. Habit number 7. In order to break the habit of ignorance, see things as they really are. Desire to see things as they really are, and not as you wish them to be. Do not engage in wishful thinking. So this habit is see things as they really are. In order to see things as they really are, we need to try to see things the way Christ Jesus would see them, to look at things objectively through the Christ mind. Seeing things as they really are is not seeing through the evil eye or the jaundiced eye of bigotry, prejudice, or criticism. And it is not seeing through the sympathetic eye that indulges the human ego rather than dispensing the true compassion of the Christ that heals the human condition and then goes beyond it. Seeing things the way they really are is learning that the way you have been taught to see things, or the way you have been used to seeing them, is not the only way to see, and is not necessarily the best way. How often do we mentally put down another person simply because they are not like us, because they don't talk like us, or dress like us, or think like us? How often do we put down someone from another ethnic group because his way of life or mannerisms are different from ours? How often do we put down someone else's religion because their beliefs are not like ours, or so we think? Earlier, I defined ignorance as blindness to the true nature of one's real self and blindness to the true nature of one's unreal self. Ignorance is also blindness to the true nature of the real and unreal self of others. Ramakrishna advised, serve God who dwells in all beings. Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, God dwells in the heart of all beings, Arjuna. Thy God dwells in thy heart. The yogi sees himself in the heart of all beings, and he sees all beings in his heart. Why? Because the yogi knows that he is Atman, and that Atman is in every heart. Therefore he is one with all beings. And when he sees me in all, and he sees all in me, then I never leave him, and he never leaves me. And when a man sees that the God in himself is the same God in all that is, he hurts not himself by hurting others. Then he goes indeed to the highest path. End of the quote from Krishna. The Lord commanded the Israelites through Moses, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. Resentment, revenge, and retaliation, that is the line of the clock, number 11, on which Lord Maitreya, the great Buddha of this mystery school, initiates us. Getting rid of avenging and grudging others is so very important. Moses said, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. This statement has two meanings. You will love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the second meaning is, you will love your neighbor because you know that the self that is in him is God, and that that same God self is your God self. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thine own God self. Jesus said, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Jesus Christ is the full manifestation of the Son of God. He is one with the Holy Christ self of each one of us, and therefore anything done to any part of life is done to the Christ of that life, and is therefore done to Jesus. One of the things that keeps us from seeing things as they really are is that criticism, condemnation, and judgment of others and of ourselves. The Masters El Morya and Saint Germain have repeatedly warned against the subtle and insidious habit of criticism, condemnation, and judgment. They have not told us that we should not have discrimination, that we should know right from wrong and light from darkness, and be able to read vibrations. They have simply said, do not criticize, condemn, or judge. They do not want us to be blind to good and evil in ourselves and one another. But do not condemn others for that condition, but pray for them. They remind us of the law of karma, which decrees that whatever we do, or think, or say, or feel, comes full circle to our doorstep for resolution. If we don't monitor our thoughts and feelings, then how can we even begin to discipline what goes forth from us as feeling, as thought, gathering more of its kind, circling the globe and returning to our doorstep, the full-grown plant of the seed that we sent out? Any harmful act, El Morya says, is referred to the Holy Christ self and becomes a part of the life record of the person who commits it. And it must one day be balanced before the lords of karma. Whether mankind like this idea, whether it appeals to them or not, the fact remains that it is pure truth. And I am determined to declare it, says Morya, as a protection to those who observe its precepts. He says, ever so frequently conceited individuals who count themselves exceedingly wise determine that they shall criticize or judge another. They do this although fully aware of the scriptures which clearly state the great law, judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. That is from the New Testament, and it is a clear statement of the irrevocable law of karma. Morya continues, Saint Germain, aware of the seriousness of this law, has continuously admonished his students to stop all criticism, condemnation, and judgment. He knows that such acts always travel the full circle back to the very door of the one sending them out. For God's laws are impersonal and impartial in their application and intent. When applied by human reason or observation to another, without being voiced, criticism is mildly destructive. But when it is uttered aloud to another, it is amplified at least 10 times. En route to the one criticized, it gathers more of the elements of the mass mind's condemnation, until it is an arrow both sharp and swift, finding easy penetration into the tender mind of the one to whom it is directed, unless that one is extremely alert and maintains a force field of the tube of light and of protection with calls to Archangel Michael and the sword of blue flame. You must be extremely alert to not be the victim at subconscious levels of other people's criticism, condemnation, and judgment, and not only of that, of their envy, jealousy, and ignorance, which saps you of your strength. When you feel you have no strength in your body, it is often because someone is lusting after your light. They want it so much, or they want what you have, that they draw it to themselves from you. El Morya's quote continues, when released by a friend or relative to whom the individual is receptive, criticism often lodges within the subconscious mind to perform its work of destruction as an arrow of pestilence, silent, invisible, insidious. Morya says countless men and women of world stature have been hindered in their missions, and some have been completely diverted from their life plan by the deliberate or thoughtless acts of others through criticism. Some of these, when lying as helpless victims of this form of destructivity, have been ignored by the righteous who murmur, They must have deserved this. It must have been their karma. Moria stresses 2 points of great import to the student who would successfully avert such calamity and calumny. Firstly, avoid participation in judgment and condemnation in any measure. Secondly, be good Samaritans to those who are the victims of this human cruelty. By carrying out these 2 services, you will become, in effect, participants in the tenets of the Order of Samaria, or the Good Samaritans, of which I have been master for centuries. You will also be doing the will of God and ensuring the protection of the light to your own life stream. End of El Moria's quotes. El Moria offers solutions to the bad habit of criticism, condemnation, and judgment. One of these solutions you should take to heart. He says, walk in another's moccasins. He once taught, I have written on the momentum of criticism, condemnation, and judgment. Beware of its subtlety in your mind. Beware of its subtlety in your pride. Walk in another's moccasins, literally. If you find yourself being critical of someone, take on yourself a penance. Ask that one's Holy Christ self and the Lords of Karma to give you that one's moccasins for 24 hours. See how you feel bearing that one's karma and burden. See how you come to know what striving your brothers and sisters may have in their hearts that you do not see, whereby they accomplish their daily tasks against odds you know not of, and conditions in the body that try them. End of quote. Another factor that prevents us from seeing things as they really are is jumping to conclusions. Sometimes the mind is like a grasshopper. It literally jumps to conclusions. It reacts to a situation out of ignorance rather than responding with thoughtful consideration. We assume somebody did such and such a thing based on hearsay, rumor, gossip, and tales told many times over, with a variation on the theme each time. The 19th century humorist Josh Billings once said, "The trouble ain't that people are ignorant, it's that they know so much that ain't so." Mark Prophet always used to say, whenever you assume instead of getting the facts firsthand, you make an ass out of you and me. ASSUME. Assume. Every Chila around here who approaches me with the word assume, I assume that I should do this, gets stopped right there, and we go into this lesson. So don't assume anything. The Buddhist scholar Nyanaponika Thera teaches that one antidote for the bad habit of jumping to conclusions is to look and wait and see. He says, generally, we are more concerned with handling and using things than with knowing them in their true nature. Thus, we usually grasp in haste the very first few signals conveyed to us via perception. Then, through deeply ingrained habit, those signals evoke a standard response by way of judgments, such as good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, useful or harmful, right or wrong. How can we curb our rash reactions and replace them by moments of mindfulness and reflection? To do so will depend on our capacity to stop and pause, to apply the brakes at the right time, to say, wait a minute. In that practice, we train ourselves to look and wait, to suspend reactions or slow them down. Our motto should be, avoid hasty judgments. Gautama said, "He whose mind is concentrated sees things as they really are. A concentrated mind is a yang mind." Remember what the Taoist masters have taught. A yang mind is not moved by distracting thoughts or circumstances, either from within or without. A yang mind does not jump to conclusions. Another kind of ignorance that keeps us from seeing things as they really are is spiritual pride and intellectual conceit. Spiritual pride is believing that you are more spiritual than someone else, that you are spiritually a superior being to all other lesser mortals. Intellectual conceit is believing you are of superior intelligence, hence above those on the intellectual or the spiritual path. Babaji once gave his disciple Lahiri Mahasaya a lesson in humility. Babaji is an unascended Himalayan master who is said to have retained his physical form for centuries. Babaji had promised Lahiri, "I shall come whenever you need me." One day during a short vacation from his work, Lahiri attended a holy festival. He later recalled, "As I wandered amidst the throng of monks and holy men that had come from great distances to attend the holy festival, I noticed an ash-smeared ascetic who was holding a begging bowl. The thought arose in my mind that the man was hypocritical, wearing the outward symbols of renunciation without a corresponding inward grace. No sooner had I passed the ascetic than my astounded eye fell on Babaji. He was kneeling in front of a matted-haired anchorite. 'Guruji,' I exclaimed and hastened to his side. 'Sir, what are you doing here?' He replied, 'I am washing the feet of this renunciant, and then I shall clean his cooking utensils.' Babaji smiled at me like a little child. I knew he was intimating that he wanted me to criticize no one, but to see the Lord as residing equally in all body temples, whether of superior or inferior men. The great Guru added, 'By serving wise and ignorant holy men, I am learning the greatest of virtues, pleasing to God above all others, humility.'" In his story about Sannyasin and the butcher, Vivekananda shows us how spiritual pride and intellectual conceit can keep us from seeing things as they really are, especially ourselves. A sannyasin is someone who lives without possessions and has renounced the world. A young sannyasin went to a forest where he meditated, worshipped, and practiced yoga for a long time. After much hard work and practice, he was one day sitting under a tree when some dry leaves fell upon his head. He looked up and saw a crow and a crane fighting on the top of the tree. This made him very angry. He said, "What? How dare you throw these dry leaves upon my head?" With these words, he angrily looked at them, and a flash of fire went out. Such was the yogi's power, and burnt the birds to ashes. He was very glad, almost overjoyed at this development of power. He could burn the crow and the crane by a look. After a time, he had to go to town to beg his bread. He stood at a door and called out, "Woman, give me food." A voice came from inside the house, "Wait a little, my son." The young man thought, "You wretched woman, how dare you make me wait? You do not yet know my power." While he was thinking thus, the woman said again, "Boy, don't be thinking too much of yourself. Here is neither crow nor crane." He was astonished. Still he had to wait. At last the woman came, and he humbly said to her, "How did you know that?" She said, "My boy, I do not know your yoga or your other practices. I am a simple, ordinary woman. I made you wait because my husband is ill, and I was nursing him. All my life I have struggled to do my duty. When I was unmarried, I did my duty to my parents. Now that I am married, I do my duty to my husband. That is all the yoga I practice. But by doing my duty, I have become illumined. Thus I could read your thoughts and know what you had done in the forest." She further told him that if he wanted to know something higher, he should go to the market of a certain town. There he would find a Vijaya who would tell him something that he would be very glad to learn. A Vijaya is one belonging to the lowest class of people who were mostly hunters and butchers. The sannyasin thought, "Why should I go to that town and to a Vijaya?" But after what he had seen, his mind had opened a little, so he went. When he came to town, he found the market and there saw at a distance a big fat Vijaya cutting meat with a big knife, talking and bargaining with different people. The young man said, "Lord, help me. Is this the man from whom I am going to learn? He is the incarnation of a demon if he is anything." In the meantime, the man looked up and said, "Oh, Swami, did a lady send you here? Take a seat until I have done my business." The sannyasin thought, "What comes to me here?" He took a seat, however. The man went on with his work, and after he had finished, he took his money and said to the sannyasin, "Come, sir, come to my home." On reaching home, the Vijaya gave him a seat, saying, "Wait here," and he went into the house. He then bathed his old father and mother, fed them, and did all he could to please them, after which he came to the sannyasin and said, "Now, sir, you have come here to see me. What can I do for you?" The sannyasin asked him a few questions about the soul and about God, and the Vijaya gave him a profound lecture. When the Vijaya finished his teaching, the sannyasin was astonished. He said, "Why are you in that body? With such knowledge as yours, why are you in a Vijaya's body and doing such filthy, ugly work?" "My son," replied the Vijaya, "no duty is ugly, no duty is impure. My birth placed me in these circumstances and this environment. In my boyhood, I learnt the trade. I am unattached, and I try to do my duty well as a householder. I do all I can to make my mother and father happy. I neither know your yoga, nor have become a sannyasin, nor have I left the world to meditate in a forest. Nevertheless, all that I know has come to me through the unattached doing of the duty which belongs to my position." This is the end of the story by Vivekananda. It is a profound teaching. In this case, seeing things as they really are is seeing what is our dharma and our karma. When we look realistically at our karma and our dharma, we are beginning to see as our Holy Christ Self sees and would have us see. Our dharma is our reason for being. It is our duty, which we are impelled to fulfill. You do not pick your dharma, you are your dharma, and what you are dictates your duty. Some people do not want to strive to fulfill what is their dharma or duty in life. They want to step down a number of rungs on the ladder and do someone else's dharma that is much easier, that they themselves have mastered in a previous lifetime. They don't want to make the effort to rise to the level that is the calling from God in this life. We are also absolutely duty-bound to balance our karma and to live at the station of our karma, that is, until we balance it and move up the scale of being. As the enlightened butcher in this story explains, my birth placed me in these circumstances and this environment. I try to do my duty well. All that I know has come to me through the unattached doing of the duty which belongs to my position. The butcher is content to do his duty because he knows that when he has fulfilled one step of the great law, The law itself will guarantee him the next step. But some people willfully ignore the mandates of their karma. This is what I have observed as the conceit of ignorance. I think the conceit of ignorance is one of the conditions of consciousness that most vexes our beloved Guru El Morya. The conceit of ignorance makes people believe they are human gods, gods in their own right, petty tyrants who can control the elements of everyday life and nature itself. Often their hoarding of money reinforces this notion. With vast power and money at their disposal, they think they rule the world. And so with all of their karma and all of their absence of God mastery, some people still believe that they are the arbiters of their own destiny. You are not the arbiter of your own destiny until you are a karma-free being. And even then, you are not the arbiter of your own destiny. From the point when first you made karma the priority in your life became the balancing of that karma. So your karma took you away from being in a position of mandating your destiny, of being the arbiter of it. Your karma mandates your social position, your situation in life, what you are free to do and be, and what you are not free to do and be. And until your karma is balanced, the fulfillment of your divine plan may have to take a back seat. Both the old woman and the butcher put first things first. They put their karma and their duty to serve others first. And they went the extra mile to balance their karma and ensoul their dharma. You must also realize, as they did, that there is karma that you must absolutely balance in this lifetime, and you should move heaven and earth to do so. This is what we learned from Philos the Tibetan. Zalem had to wait 12 or 13,000 years in Devachan before he could re-embody. You'll recall that Devachan is the first 3 levels of the etheric octave. It's the place of wish fulfillment after one passes from the screen of life. So it can take that long for you and all the people you have karma with to come together under the right circumstances so that you and everyone you have karma with and everyone who has karma with you can balance that karma together. So people in the conceit of ignorance think that they can decide in what future time they will fulfill their responsibilities to this or that person whom they just don't feel like serving right now. People think they can decide when down the road of life they will have the child that they are now going to abort. People think they can decide when they will get around to doing this or that unenviable task of their karma. You know what? Those who are willfully ignorant are often the most conceited people you will find walking the earth. Just make sure you are no longer counted among them. Another insight I had from this story of the sannyasin is that one's duty to ensoul the Dharma is the duty to embody the body of Dharma, or the great Dharmakaya, which is the great causal body. Our duty to bring the elements of our causal body into play in everything we do on earth. This is what our duty is, to draw down from that great causal body, to gain mastery through it, and to bless all life.
For more information, call toll-free 1-800-245-5445. The preceding program was presented by Summit University, Box 5000, Livingston, Montana, 59047 5000.